Barrows. Good morning.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's a Jim Harbaugh phrase.
Yeah, the time of his life.
He would always say, "Wonderful, wonderful."
Yeah.
He doubled down on it.
He was very complimentary of his time with the 49ers when he visited over the weekend.
Yes, and he was in charge of Foghorn on Sunday, and he had a good time blasting that thing before the game.
I was watching the game as you were, Matt, and it probably happened before this. This is the analogy I used, and I don't know if you're much of a boxing or really more accurately a mixed martial arts fan, but in some fights, and I love MMA, but in some fights, a fighter will get knocked down and they'll be unconscious, but before the ref can get to the offending fighter, that person will land like 2 or 3 punches to the unconscious fighter, and it always gives me a queasy feeling like, okay, you won, that's enough. Now this is a little gross. When Jimmy got sacked in the end zone yesterday, I felt like the Chiefs were beating down on an already unconscious 49er team. It's like they didn't just beat them, they took their soul. In your opinion, how much of that is the Chiefs are better? How much of that can be excused by injuries?
Yeah, it's all of the above, and you're right. First of all, I don't like that aspect of MMA either. Yeah. It ceases to be sport after that, and it's just kind of beating a piece of meat.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's one of these combo deals. But the bottom line is that both of these teams were coming off a loss. And that's usually a really big, it focuses teams. And good teams coming off of losses really make their next opponent pay for it. And the Chiefs did it, and the 49ers didn't. And that's the bottom line. I mean, one of these teams right now is a championship-level team. The other is kind of finding its way in the wilderness. And I think we all know which one I'm talking about here. And I'm not saying that the 49ers can't do it. I mean, you can see the path for them to have, a run to the playoffs. And it starts with a win Sunday in Los Angeles. But, yeah, I mean, what struck me was, we've all heard a million times the announcers, national writers, faces on TV say what a great play caller, what a great schemer Andy Reid is. And wow, I mean, he was just handing the 49ers their you-know-whats in this game. On these TDs, they were just so easy. That's what struck me, is that the big plays that the Chiefs made, whether it was the third down conversions or the touchdowns, they did it with ease. And they had a helmet on every 49ers defender. The defense was going the wrong way. They were just out-schemed in this game. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's more scheme, if that's the way you're going, Matt, because, the Niners have had injuries this year, but they did get reinforcements back. It was great to have Trent Williams back, great to have Bosa back, 2 of your best players, Ward, playing with the cast, but he's back. The fact that they go for 30 points in the second half, make it look easy, that to me was the biggest stunner, that a great offense versus a great defense. Maybe you take away the great offense, but in the end, the great offense, here's Mahomes going over 400, Kelsey getting what he wants, Schuster getting what he wants, Valdez. The way the Chiefs exposed the Niners defense, which I didn't think would get exposed much this year, was really surprising to me.
Yeah, and you can say, that there were a bunch of guys on the injury report heading into the game, either guys that were coming off an injury and didn't practice the full week, and to a person, each of those guys struggled, whether it was Mike McGlinchey, Jimmy Ward looked like there was some rust there. Charvarius Ward, I didn't think that he was 100%, and he came off the field and this, that, and the other. So there was that, and then there was the fact that they had just spent 2 weeks on the East Coast, and they are reliably terrible in the first game back from those. And remember, last year it was Green Bay. They couldn't get going against the Packers. The year before that, it was, a bad Carson Wentz-led Eagles team. They couldn't get going there. Remember, in 2019, they were unstoppable. They come back from their East Coast trip, and they get surprised by the Falcons and lose that game. So, I think there has to be something to be said about that. It just happens every game. I don't know whether it's energy or just the human body just needs a week or two to recover from that. But as Jason noted, in the second half, they just had nothing. They came out well. They came out with a lot of energy. Took a 10-0 lead. I think the McCaffrey signing, I think Jim Harbaugh being in the building, I think it was a really great crowd. I think all of that lifted them. They just had no staying power with that, and it vanished by the second half.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic joining us. Niners lose to the Chiefs 44-23. 8 attempts, 38 yards, just under 5 for the average. And Christian McCaffrey had another 2 catches for 24 yards. He gotten off the plane 5 minutes prior. That Stanford education he used to learn a few plays, I'm sure. In your opinion, how much do you think they will really ramp him up before the next game, and how is it going to be, open up the hose full bore?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was impressed by how much it went from, there's no way this guy plays,
right,
to, okay, maybe he plays a half dozen snaps, and then it was 22, and they were in all sorts of scenarios. I mean, he was deep in the backfield. He lined up at slot. He did a wheel route. It wasn't the full gamut of the playbook, but as you noted, he came in on Friday. He didn't even really take part in the practice. He came out there dressed, showed up midway through the practice, introduced himself, and was an observer. So it was impressive. So if you apply that to a full week, I think he's going to have the full thing under his belt. I mean, that was the best storyline of all for the 49ers, easily. It was how good he looked, how much he was able to learn, and you can just kind of see him fitting into this offense very well. So I think, that, like I said, there's definitely a pathway to the playoffs, and it begins with the fact that the NFC is all kind of glommed together. The next step is that they play the Rams, which is their get-right team, and then they have the bye. So if they can get to 4-4, go to the bye, and then I think they would have this feeling that, okay, Elijah Mitchell's coming back. We're going to get Azeez Al-Shaair back, a few weeks after that. Jason Verrett might come back at that point. There would be reinforcements. There would be, like I said, a clear vision in how they do it. Now, whether they can or not is anyone's guess, but I think it's there for the taking if they can get their what together.
Yeah, it feels like this Rams game is that swing game. I remember last year when they had the home loss to Arizona, and then the season just kind of turned around from there. The part of the Rams that intrigues me too, Matt, about this week's game, obviously, is how well the Niners have played them over recent memory, and the fact that they did get McCaffrey over the Rams. The Rams have been able to beat the Niners as far as getting players, where the Niners have been able to beat the Rams as far as on the field. So the fact that the Niners got someone that the Rams didn't, I think just adds a little bit more to this weekend's game. Yeah,
absolutely. It's another storyline, and John Lynch was very upfront about that. Is that they went into Carolina, beat the Panthers soundly, and it led to the firing of Matt Rule, the head coach. And at that point, everybody knew that there would be a fire sale. So John Lynch was the first GM to start asking questions about Christian McCaffrey. He really wanted to get that deal done very quickly because he knew that the Rams' MO was to kind of come in late and come in strong. And to his credit, Scott Fitterer, the Carolina GM, knew that as well. So he kind of kept the talks going until that point, and lo and behold, the Rams did exactly that. They came in late. They came in strong. The 49ers just had a little bit more ammo there. But you're right. I mean, they really wanted McCaffrey too, and you can see why. Cam Akers is on the outs there. That's not working out. He's probably going to be traded or something, but that's not working. Darrell Henderson is their other running back. He's averaging, I don't know, something like 3.8 yards a carry. So they could have used that same kind of shot to the arm that the 49ers are expecting with Christian McCaffrey.
A lot to be discussed this week with the 49ers. You can check all that out with Matt Barrows at The Athletic. Get that subscription, just $19.99 for a year. That's the special going on right now, last I checked, and so much more sports coverage as well. Matt, we always appreciate you each and every week. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next Monday.